talking at me crazy. First off, and I'm talking at me crazy. First off, and I'm talking at me crazy. All my niggas poppin' too, and we coming like the Knicks. I be rolling up, and my bitch do the dash for me. I need my money first, niggas open up that bag for me. I ain't gotta talk, I let your nigga brag for me. And if it get that way, I let your nigga scratch for me. And I'm talking at me crazy. First off, and I'm talking at me crazy. First off.
What's going on? It's your boy Trey Bucci back with another video, Talking Crazy podcast. But before we get into it, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, my guy. Show some boys some love. But we have another video, top 10 for you. A requested video, the New York Knicks top 10. A lot of talent. It was hard picking the top 10, honestly. Starting off, we're going to go with the honorable mentions, man. Latrell Sprewell and John Starks. Unfortunately, they didn't make the list. Latrell Sprewell, only 5 years. And John Starks had a long year, but didn't crack the top 10. Some people might have my number 10 with John Starks, or 9, maybe 8. So coming in at number 10, we got that dog, man, Charles Oakley. We all know him for beginning with the Chicago Bulls with Jordan. He was like his hitman, his sidekick. But when he went to the Knicks, that was that extra piece, that dog that they had to make them go to the finals and Eastern Conference a couple times throughout the 90s. And like Anthony Mason and stuff like that. But the 90s Knicks, man, the late 60s to the 70s and then the 90s, Knicks were unstoppable. So moving on number 9, we got the shooter, Allen Houston. Man, this kid, if he would have played in today's game, he was shooting 40%, 90 from free throw, I'm pretty sure, yeah, and 44% field goal. Deadly from 3. Like I said, if he played in today's game, he'll be a star still to this day. Averaging 18.5 and 3.1 rebounds. Allen Houston. Moving in at number 8, we got the point guard, man, Mark Jackson. We all know LeBron James is probably gonna pass him. I don't know about John Stockton, but you're gonna pass Mark Jackson. Had a couple stints with the New York Knicks in the 80s to early 90s and then 2000s. So he wasn't with that John Starks team, but he still contributed early and then late in his career, averaging 8 assists, 11.1 points, shooting 45% field goal. Not truly a scorer. He was a playmaker, getting other people involved. And number 8. Number 7, man. I know a lot of these new cats that was born in 2000s or maybe even late 90s that they watch Carmelo. They think he is number 1, but I gotta tell y'all young fellas, it's not the case. I got Carmelo at number 7. All right, 25.5 points per game, 6.3 rebounds, 44 field goal, 37%, 38, almost 38 3-point percentage. So obviously Melo is probably the most gifted and perennial all-star, I will say, out of the bunch. But fortunately, he was kind of in the bad era of the Knicks. Even the early 2000s is even a little better than what Melo's teams. He did go to the Eastern Conference once, give him that, but unfortunately he didn't make that boost. And it's not all his fault, but that does factor in. So at number 6, we have Earl The Pearl Monroe, man. 16.2 points per game, 3.5 assists, played 72 to 80. This guy is a monster. So he was coming out after the Walt Frazier, Willis Reed. He was that next star. I'm telling you, they had stars. Old school, if you guys don't know, he was lighting it up at the Garden, man. A lot of stories I hear. Michael Jordan was a big fan of Earl The Pearl. Yeah, man, all around good player. Moving on to number 5, we have Dave Bouchier. This dude was, throughout those championships, couple championships in the Knicks, 16 points per game, 10.8 rebounds, 43% from the field goal, all around good player. He actually had a little bit of range too. So obviously I was not born in 68, 74. But watching film on this guy, he was just a dog. Back in those days, obviously he had Wilt and stuff like that. So it was hard being a big man at that time, but he definitely held his own and was a great rebounder. So let's move on to number 4. We have Bernard King, man. Bernard King, 26.5 points per game, 5.2 rebounds, shooting 54% from the field, man. He was a smooth all-around scorer, man. Smooth all around. There was nothing in his game that he couldn't do. And at one point, Larry Bird said that he was the best player in the game at that time. And remember, he had 2 back-to-back 50-point games, so he was kind of like that first guard to really score, because it was a big man's game, and it transitioned to some of these guards, and he was a great scorer. All right, moving on to number 3, we have no other than the sports announcer for the Knicks, Walt Frazier, man. I love listening to that dude. This dude is a top 3, arguably, maybe some people say the greatest Knick of all time. That is an argument, debatable. 19.3 points per game, 6.3 assists, 49 from field goal, 6.1 rebounds, and he could steal. And there's one player that kind of they compare to, obviously not on Walt Frazier's level, but kind of his game in today's NBA, Spencer Dinwiddie. Play exactly the same. Walt Frazier, great scorer, great rebounder, great defender, and assist. What do you have? 6.3 assists a game. So it's arguable that some people will move him at number 2 or 1, but number 2, I have Willis Reed, man. He's a lefty, smooth, 18.7 points, 12.9 rebounds, 47% from field goal. And his game reminds me of, he retired, but Zach Randolph. So you new guys or who watched the late 2000s, mid 2000s, Zach Randolph, his game was kind of like a Willis Reed. Obviously, Willis Reed is on another level, but that's NBA comparison. So if you didn't know, number 1, we have Patrick Ewing, 22.8 points per game, 10.4 rebounds, 2.7 blocks, 50% field goal percentage. Now, obviously, we talk about rings and stuff like that, but if it wasn't such thing as Michael Jordan, the Knicks would have had a couple rings for sure. But they were always competing, so that's where you can't kind of put Carmelo. People say, oh, Carmelo didn't win the rings, or Patrick Ewing. But they were competing every single year, man. Every single year. So that's all we got for you, man. Make sure you like and subscribe if you like this content, and we'll be back for another video. Go and get it.